Minecraft 1.19.1 has added chat reporting and multiplayer bans to Minecraft, and although this has been a very controversial change, it is important to understand what is bannable, what isn't, and how to appeal a ban. I'll explain all of that in this video. So what actually is chat reporting in Minecraft 1.19.1? I mean, there hasn't been any infrastructure in Java Edition to report people before this. Well, there has, but there isn't in-game anyway. And so how would you do this? Well, if you're in any world that is in Minecraft 1.19.1 or higher, and there's another player on it, so this could be anything from a massive multiplayer server down to a small LAN world, then you can report them if they have messages that you think would break the terms of service. So for instance, this rude looking person right here has actually left a lot of very rude messages that you can see here. So basically, let's say one of these messages was offensive to us, and we thought that it was breaking a rule, then we could report that if we thought they deserved to have their multiplayer banned because of that. Now personally, I wouldn't suggest reporting anyone unless you think they've done something incredibly bad, as I think that abuse of this feature is really just going to make the entire situation worse. You can see there's a whole bunch of messages, and you can notice my alternative account actually left at one point. Also on the side of the screen there's this little gray bar here, and there's a blue bar here. These are some new chat indicators. To show this gray bar are messages sent by the game or by commands, and so you can separate those from messages sent by a player. Now let's say we said something rude here, which we did. You can see, let's say I said, rude, mean, bad person you are. We can go to player reporting, and you can notice right here that on the normal social interaction screen, which normally is just by pressing P or by pressing this button right here, what'll happen is there's all hidden and blocked. So of course you could block a player, like let's say I wanted to not see messages from my player, I could block them, but this is about actually reporting a message. So you can see here we can hide their messages, but if we want to report them, we can press report player with this icon right here. When we press that, a new UI comes up, and we can select messages to report, we can select the report category, and we need to describe what happens. And so for instance, if we press this, we could select some different messages. So we could select, let's say this, we can select up to 4 messages. So we could do this one, we could do being rude, we could say I'm going to say something rude, like this. We could use all those messages as context. And also you can see it says messages surrounding this selection will be included to provide additional context. This is obviously very good. Let's say we did not select this message and they just saw this. Maybe that would be something bannable. I doubt it, but let's say it was. But they didn't see this thing providing more context. And then they maybe would do a ban unfairly because of course they don't actually know what's going on in the game. And so let's say we just selected some of these messages and press done. Once we've done that, we now have to select a report category. We press this, you can see there's a bunch of different categories to choose from. There's a description for each. Now something good to be aware of is the fact that if you actually have not sent any messages in the chat of a server, it's actually impossible to try and report them. And so if you do that, there's actually a little symbol right here that's just gray, and it says no reportable messages sent by player, something like that. And so potentially a way around this is maybe having a Discord server where the players chat, or if you're on a massive multiplayer server, you could always choose just not to type in the chat, as there's literally no way of getting banned for any other reason than just messages that could be breaking the terms of service. Now this has actually been in the game for quite a while. Not in the game, but it's been part of Minecraft. There's been a report screen where you can report a player on there. But it's basically unknown, and although the categories are very similar to what they are here, again, because basically no players knew about it, it was almost impossibly rare that a player would have their account banned. And so more or less that's been ported into the game, but of course it's been adjusted a lot. And the first way that you could actually ban someone with different messages was a little bit crazy. So there were some things there, like for instance swearing you could get banned from. I think that, overall some other things that were just a little bit much. Now, of course, some of these I definitely think are quite controversial that you could get banned over. Maybe something like this would be controversial. But I think that overall, as long as you're not saying anything completely crazy in the chat, it shouldn't be too much of an issue, outside of course, falsified ban reports, which are definitely an issue. And so the things that you can actually get reported for, things like this, you can see most of these are things that there just really wouldn't be a good reason to be saying this in the game. But of course, Minecraft is a game with a lot of context to it, and something like this could be taken a little bit out of proportion. Like let's say you could say those rude messages I took were harassment or bullying, but I'm not sure if that realistically, of course, would mean getting banned for that. That's of course up to the moderators. But you can see there's a description for each if you want more context to what that actually means. For instance, here you can see this has to do with a certain relation to that activity, not just that as is. You can see that harassment or bullying includes doxing, which is of course something that's very serious. However, there's also things like just shaming or bullying you, and bullying could be thought about in a lot of ways. There's also a button here that links to a page we'll look at a little bit later. But either way, you would select the category. Once you've done that, you would select the chat messages. So let's say we were going to do some of the ones that were rude. And then overall, once we've done that, then the report could be sent. But before we send that, we'd have to add some context. We don't actually have to. You can see we can press that. But basically, if we don't add some context, then of course, we can't really describe what's going on. Let's say if you just sent a message that didn't seem very bad, or if someone, tried adding some weird context here. So it's always important to be aware of that. And if you are reporting a player that's legitimately done something wrong, then definitely make sure to spend some time to write out some detailed description of what that is. So that's the base way that the reporting system works. And those are all the categories that you can get banned from. Now, of course, the big question would be what actually happens when you get banned, and what are the types of bans that you can get. Well, the first type is a 3-day ban, so basically all the bans apply only to multiplayer. In Java Edition, there is no way to get banned from single player, you can only get banned from multiplayer. And so if that happens, if you try connecting to a multiplayer world on any single versions, this could even be a very, very old version, anything that uses the Microsoft authentication servers, then you couldn't actually connect to that if you have that ban going. The next type of ban is a 7-day ban. It's the same idea. For those amount of time, you just cannot join any multiplayer worlds. Now, unfortunately, this does apply to literally everything, not just the server that you were banned on. And so I'm hoping that Mojang does not give these bans out too commonly, as of course getting banned from every single multiplayer world is rather severe. Next, there is a 14 ban, so about double of a 17, so that's about for 2 weeks, but again, everything other than that is the same. Finally, we have a 30-day ban, so for an entire month, you cannot join a multiplayer world of any sort, of any type, on any version of the game. And finally, we have a permanent ban. Now, of course, the idea of a permanent ban from all Minecraft multiplayer for a specific account, a specific username, is quite a frightening prospect, and I would say that it's hopefully something that will be reserved for the most serious things. That is what Mojang has said it will be. So they're saying if you're repeatedly getting banned again and again, or if you just have a completely severe, let's say something you're getting reported for, of course some of these categories are for some very, very severe things. Those are the 5 types of bans that you can get. Now, something important to note is that there are some ways that you don't have to deal with this chat reporting system, but of course not all of them are perfect workarounds. The first one is don't play on Minecraft 1.19.1. That is what some people have decided to do, is just not to upgrade the versions. The only real feature outside of this that's been added to this new version, other than just some bug fixes, is the duplication of the allay mob, which is cool, but I wouldn't think of that as a super important feature. And so it might be an idea to stay on the older version for now, just to sort of see what happens, see how this system ends up panning out in game after some time of being implemented, and then potentially upgrading to 1.20, but of course it is up to you. The second thing that's important to note is that no matter what you say in a single player world or type on signs in Java Edition, there is absolutely no way of getting banned through that. The only way to get banned is if you say something on multiplayer that would be considered breaking the terms of service, and a player reports that. Some very good news about this banning system is if you're sending way too many chat reports, let's say you're reporting tons of players that have done nothing wrong, you can actually get your account banned permanently or temporarily for that as well, which I think is definitely an important thing, considering the fact that it would be very easy for people to spam reports. However, if accounts that are reporting way too many times get banned themselves, I think that should hopefully allow people to only use the Mojang chat reporting for the most severe of scenarios, which I definitely think a system like that should be reserved for. There's also mods you can install so that your chat is not signed. However, Mojang has added a feature where if someone has unsecured chat in the newest version or a later version than that, and they type it in, there's actually a little warning sign next to every single message that is not secured. Also, if you join a server that has text that is not secured, you'll get a little pop-up. The pop-up isn't very annoying, but it definitely is there. So I would assume potentially servers like Hypixel, where they're being run on older versions and sort of ported to newer versions, would potentially have that pop-up, but I'm not actually sure. So something interesting to see. And of course, this whole chat reporting system, unless you get banned, does not apply in any way to any previous versions, only in 1.19 19.1 or forward. Alright, now the big question is, let's say you've gotten banned for something that you do not think was fair. Let's say you get a 30-day long ban for a report that you think was faked, a report that just was not accurate to what was actually going on. Well, the good news is you can appeal that ban. There is a ban appeal process, and it is fairly simple, and I'll walk you through that right now. So to appeal a ban, you want to go to the case review request page on the Minecraft Help Center website, and I'll leave a link to this in the description below. Now you can see they say they want you to provide the requested information in the form below. They also want you to only submit one case review for each individual issue, so be definitely very aware of that and make your one appeal be very full of all the information that you want it to have. They also want you to take a look at the community standards, and I'll take a look at that in a minute here. And this is only about your Minecraft account. So first you select the game. You could actually appeal a Minecraft Bedrock Edition thing, which they're just calling Minecraft here, but you want to select Minecraft Java. Then again, you want to say the platform you play on. That would probably be PC, but whatever you want it to be. If you play on Linux or Mac, you could do that as well. Now for your ban duration, you can actually see here, we can see what the different types of bans are. Let's say it was a 7-day ban. And let's say the ban reason was we were being bullying. Now your name, you could put your real life name, you could put your email address. You can see this means you have to put that in. Also your email address, you'd want that to be your email address that's associated with your Minecraft account. So let's say you have an email address called minecraftaccount@outlook.com that's for your Minecraft account there, you'd want to use that right there. And you can see we can put in our Java Edition in-game name here and optionally our gamer tag if we want. Now right here they have the actual text box, which is the most important part. This is where you put down your actual appeal, so make sure to write this in great detail. For instance, something like this just very likely would not get you unbanned. However, if you go into great detail about exactly what you think you were incorrectly banned for, let's say you say I was talking about PvP, but the context made it seem like I was talking about real life, or maybe you were saying that you were talking to a friend of yours, and they reported you by accidentally, whatever you're saying as your example for why you should have your ban be appealed, make sure to put that there and in great detail, as more or less the more detail you put, the higher chance of your appeal being accepted, as they'll have more of a reason to see if they should legitimately let your appeal be accepted. You can also attach attachments. Not exactly sure the point of this, as of course you could easily fake a screenshot, maybe showing evidence, but I guess if you want to show a screenshot maybe of things that were said afterwards, maybe of things that your friends said of other context they didn't know, whatever you'd want that to be, you could add that as well. And then you can just press the submit button. That will send in, and after a while you get word back on whether or not your appeal has been accepted. Now of course most people would not be waiting a year, but if it was a permanent ban and your ban was over a year ago, then that just account could never be appealed to be unbanned. Anyway, let's take a look at these community guidelines that they were referencing earlier. Now this page you can see of course is governed by the Microsoft Services Agreement. Things like this is what you sign up for when you first are installing Minecraft and paying for Minecraft. Now if you look here, you can see it says, consider these standards a guide for how the Minecraft community should interact with each other and keep our community a positive, safe, and enjoyable place for everyone. These are not rules that you can be banned for. Now some of these are, but a lot of these are not things you can actually be banned for. There's just general things that they would prefer you do. You'll also notice here it says that these community standards cover Mojang provided online services. So it's being specific there, that's not actually Java private servers. Now of course, yes, there's the chat reporting for private servers, but things like, let's say what it says here, like, you know, all caps yelling, not being nice, thankfully that's not applying to things like private servers, and so you wouldn't really have to worry about a lot of this, but it's still good to read over. This is basically any multiplayer interaction on Realms, and so you can see here they're just basically saying that they want you to be careful about information, of course no promoting of illegal things, and overall they just are trying to make community members interact well, but parts of this are written in interesting tones, and so you can see things like this are just maybe not worded the best, but overall I would say some people have been saying these are now the rules that you have to go by in Java, and that is simply not true. These are community standards and they are something you should probably read over, but as you can see right here it does clarify that these are for Mojang provided online services, so technically if you're playing on like a Minecraft Java realm you would have to follow these rules. And you can see right here they're saying how to submit a case review. A lot of this has to do with the Bedrock system as the Java system is so new, and you can see here the criteria for that. So the enforcement has to be greater than 24 hours. Obviously this is talking about Bedrock since there actually are no 24-hour bans in Minecraft Java, and you can see issued in the last 12 months, and then there's the link to the case review, and the link for this is Minecraft.net Community Standards, and I'll have a link to that in the description as well. Now, something you're probably wondering is why in the world has Mojang decided to add this to Minecraft Java Edition after the game has had multiplayer interactions for close to 12 years. Let's look at the official help article that they've given us around the player reporting FAQ. Now, some of this has very good information to it, and it definitely does ease some concerns of the community, although of course there are still some things that many players are upset about with this. So you can see it, they're saying this has been implemented to basically ensure safety. Again, that does not necessarily explain why it's being implemented now. That would sort of make it seem like they didn't care about the safety for the last 12 years. Now, something that is interesting is they say, can you get banned for swearing? And in the first iteration, 22W24A of the snapshot, you actually could get banned for swearing. I mean, you couldn't really because the system wasn't set up, but in the beta testing, there were options for that. So it is kind of interesting that they would say you can't, when at first in the first version you were able to be, but at this point you cannot get banned for swearing of any type, which I think is definitely important to have. They also say here, can you get banned for what you say in single player? It says it's only available in multiplayer, and as well as that, there's actually no way to even get to that menu in single player. You can see that if you report certain things, that they will be dealt with without a ban, and so that's actually the only thing that's not dealt with a ban, which is of course good. They just want to make sure that players are safe. You can see that they're asking why this has to be third parties as well, and they're talking about how the community guidelines apply to all servers. They're basically just clarifying what being banned means, why you're banned, and how you can appeal, and you can see there's a link to the appeal form as well. I'll also link this article in the description, and they're saying that different bans have to do with different things. You can see permanent bans are reserved for the most severe or reoccurring abuse. And you can see that there are serious forms of abuse that require broad action, which is their answer for why is this an account ban and not an individual server ban. I definitely hope this means that these bans would only be reserved for very, very extreme forms of, let's say, things like bullying, as of course that could be manifested in just one rude message. You can see that their moderator team is humans, they're saying, and so there shouldn't be too much of an issue around players being falsely banned. However, of course that can happen, and they address it right down here with false bans, and they're saying they do not monitor chat unless a message is sent. They can say there's nothing that's censored, which is kind of interesting, as you think it might be even easier just to censor certain things than make them reportable, but either way. You can see that there is context they send with reports, and also you can see that their investigators or people who look over the reports are trained for Minecraft, which is definitely good, as of course there's things they're saying here, like for instance combat related chat. You can also see that with the cryptographically signed chat, they're saying that you cannot have messages be forged. Now, something that's definitely good about this system is the fact that multiple reports does not make it be more likely that you'll get banned, which I think is really important, as of course you could definitely have a group of people gang up on you and try and falsely ban you, and if maybe 20 people send in a false report, that could look like evidence, but they say right here that the volume of reports does not constitute as more evidence. And what they're saying here is that if someone creates a mod that spams/fakes reports, that multiple fake reports will result in action taken against the reporter, including temporary or permanent bans. So again, it's very important to only report someone if they truly are breaking the terms of service. You can also see reports cannot be anonymous, so it's definitely tracked who is reporting who. And finally, something they say is that unfortunately, if someone does gain access to your account, if you're hacked, or if let's just say some relative or friend of yours types something stupid on your own account, then you would be able to get banned on that as well, as they cannot distinguish between you and them. So definitely important with this new update to make sure that your account is only able to be used by you. And that is the end of the Mojang support article. Hopefully you enjoyed this video about this chat reporting explained. If you did, make sure to press the like button. I'll see you in the next one.